Hi everyone, welcome to Coming Out of the Dark. I am Laura Vienne and just want to say happy Friday to you. If you celebrate Good Friday, blessings on this Good Friday. May it be a beautiful, holy, renewing, and resurrecting weekend for you as we enter this new season. And so I made my first official video last week with my book. I went through dedications and introductions, and like I said, I don't want it to be too long. So, and my chapters are not long for all those that have my book can see. It's a very short book. Um, Designed to work in at the same time as you're going through the reading. There's small exercises. So today will be chapter 1. I'm going to go through it, talk a little bit about it, explain a little bit more about why, I wrote what I did, what brought me there. And there's a small little exercise at the end of that chapter. So let's get started. Hopefully you have my book. You can get it at www.lauravn.com. It's in the description box. And if not, just follow along again. This will be inspirational and empowering to people. Perhaps it will touch you in a way with anything that you're going through. So I'm going to get started with chapter 1, which is called Darkness is a Gift. I'm just going to read a little bit and I'll stop and talk a little bit at the same time. So, darkness is a gift. Darkness is necessary. It's a precursor to light. They go hand in hand. My personal experience with darkness in the last 3 years has taught me so many lessons that will remain with me forever. Now, I wrote this book in 2005. We are in 2021, and I say the last 3 years. So there was a lot of stuff going on, even while I was writing this book in 2005, that goes back to the 3 years before. But my experience in 2005 is what propelled me to write the book. I was divorced about 18 months at that point, and I was married young at 21. And it's interesting because I think I was grieving my marriage a little bit delayed, if you will. A relationship that I got into 18 months after my divorce, which would have been in 2005 when I wrote the book, was a relationship that involved a very toxic person, to me at least. I was a recovering alcoholic, and he was also, what I discovered in the end, very involved with somebody and married actually while still communicating with me. For me, that was such a dark time, probably because I did not grieve my marriage. I didn't feel like maybe I needed to. I felt we were amicable at the end, and we divorced for many reasons. I pursued our divorce. So this relationship was so unstable, this new relationship. I was used to a very, when you're together, you're together. You start making plans, you commit to each other, you you're partnering up, you're uniting with each other. That's the way I look at, a relationship. So it was very hard for me. There was a lot of secrecy. There was a lot of things that never made sense. There was very limited communication. It just really messed with me, and I emotionally allowed that into my life instead of cutting it. I was trying to figure out the pieces to the puzzle of these mysterious behaviors. So that was extremely emotional and dark for me, and probably at one of my lowest emotional points in a long time. And I was, single at that point again. I had two young sons I was raising. I had a lot on my plate. So for me, that was the darkness. So let me continue. I say the greatest of these lessons is that in order to reach your own light within, you must first give yourself permission and time to move through the darkness. So, as I always say, distractions are not going to allow you to get to the core. Ignoring and just going on with life as if those feelings and those issues don't exist are not going to get you to your light, because I've learned it always comes back to bite you, always. I'm a believer in getting to the core, and it is very difficult for a lot of people that are unconscious, not emotionally available, not able to hold that kind of inner work that it takes to do that. So I say, in my opinion, there's no greater gift you can give yourself during that time as to address what's going on. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? What is the reason for it? What does it connect with in my childhood, my past? These are all wounds that seem to come up sometimes that can equate to what you're feeling in those moments. For me, that relationship, there was a bit of abandonment that I went through as a teenager. That is definitely part of why that affected me so much. So let me continue. Emotions are considered taboo most of the time. People will say, "Stop crying, get over it. It's been over for months. She passed 6 months ago. Move on." We're all conditioned, especially boys in our society, to suppress the emotions that are associated with darkness. People have their timelines, and if you can remember as you're going through a situation that your timeline is your own. Listening to the chatter of people telling you, giving opinions, because there's a opinion around every corner of how you should handle things, how you should get over something, how you should just fluff it off. Well, if you're a feeler like I am, if you're someone who honors your soul, is authentic to your being, you can't just go off of what someone says. You either feel like you're ready or you're not. And that's another huge lesson. Everybody's ready at a different time. There are people that get so stuck, and I mean for years, who do need some assistance with that. But otherwise, when you're ready and you're feeling healed and you're feeling like you've taken the time to do the inner work and you're ready to release that situation, and another good gauge for that is when the emotions come, but they don't bring you to a dark place around them. You're not gut-wrenching tears. You're not moved by that anymore. It's more of, that was part of my life and that was where I was. you know you're starting to heal, or you've healed at that point. So our timelines are not someone else's, and someone else's are not ours. Just remember that. We all have a pace at how we heal. If we're being conscious and taking the time to do it, it will come. And boys, men, many are always, you've heard it before. Have to be the tough guy, have to be the macho guy, have to be in control. Well, we're all human. We all have an emotional body. Men that are unavailable emotionally, most likely were raised that way. There was no discussion of that. There was no way to outlet that. There was no, it's okay. And so men need to understand just as much, and to connect with women and a partner in life. It's crucial. It's crucial to cultivate that in your life as a man. So let me go on. Sorry, I'm moving around the camera a little bit. I said, who made the rule that boys and men especially are not supposed to feel as well? Yeah, who made those rules? We all have an emotional body. Who created the time limit for the duration of the grieving process? Nobody. Like I said, it's up to us individually. Nobody can tell you that you have to do something now, have to get over it, have to let it go. Nobody. You have to feel it and move through it. So I go on to say a little bit more, but we all have different experiences, different circumstances, and of course, different capacities, like I just said. And that's just a summary of what I was explaining. What works for one person does not always work for the next. And then the next section says, the thought of sitting in the dark is very hard to swallow. Yes, it's very hard. That's when I talk about honoring yourself and giving yourself a chance to really sit and say, this is what feels dark to me. This is how I feel about it. This is what happened. This is what I'm going through. So first and foremost, we have to address what that darkness, what that, feeling is at the time. And it is hard. It is very difficult to do inner work without a distraction, you can't bypass it if you want to heal and you want to move forth in your life. You just cannot bypass it. It sucks. It's really hard. And I said this on my interview with Prime. It really is hard. There's nothing pretty about it. And I'll get into that more. Some of my nights and days and weeks and months of difficult nights. And I mean, I've had many different situations like that since I wrote this book. But I go through them and I come out a lot better and a lot more cleansed and refreshed and clear when I do that. And some examples I say, when people say it's really hard to stay in that emotional body, I've got to get up and take care of my kids. I've got to go to work. I don't have time to think about how I feel. Those are some of the reasons people can't go there, or they don't think they can go there. There's a way to do it, and I'll get into that further in the book. I'm a very cerebral individual. I am, and I say in my book, I'm always in my brain. Thinking can be my best and worst enemy. I definitely am an overthinker. I'm an overanalyzer. Very beneficial when I'm going through this process, or when I went through this process, and every process since, but very detrimental at times too. So anyone who overthinks or overfeels or overanalyzes understands. It is a very challenging thing to change and limit, but it can be very beneficial when you're going to the core emotionally, without a doubt. And I say, believe me, turning it off can seem almost impossible at times. Yes, that's what I'm referring to. But allowing yourself the time with, when possible, with the intention to stay focused on the light, you will complete the process and enjoy the fullness of life again, or perhaps for the first time in your life. So that is the key. And that's what this book is about. You're coming out of the dark. While you're coming out of the dark, you are nurturing yourself. You are focused on the light. You're not sitting in the dark permanently. You're coming out of it with the proper tools. And again, my book is just a bunch of tools, and I have so many more that I did after this book, but just a bunch of tools that helped me to, while going through the dark and feeling the emotion and feeling the heck of it, these allowed me to still stay in the positive, the higher vibration, the light while doing that. So it's not all ugly all day long until you've come out on the other side. So whatever the circumstance, whatever the emotions, this can work, and you will feel renewed once you face it head on and you conquer it. Some say it's not healthy to dwell on things. Well, I agree with that statement, but let me add that it's even healthier, or unhealthier, to ignore how you feel. Again, I'm reiterating what I just said. Dwelling on it, staying in that dark place day in and day out without allowing the light, the goodness, the healing, the high vibration to join you there will be very difficult on you and will get you nowhere. And ignoring how you feel, again, like I said, you have to honor the feeling, the circumstance through it all. The human body is so complex, beautiful, and oh so smart. It can store every emotion connected to every event on a cellular level and hold your body and mind hostage forever, good or bad. That gets into a lot of scientific research that I've read. I'm sure most of you have heard the emotional body controls the physical body. I watched a dear family member who I felt never really addressed a lot of old trauma from childhood. And that emotional body showed and manifest in the physical to such great detriment and such toxicity and unhealthiness because things were never addressed. Our cells do hold memory, and the way to explain that the best way, in a simple way, without being scientific, the amygdala, which is in our brain, it's a little part of your brain that holds all the memory of an experience, of a smell, a song, a person. So the way I can explain how true that is, that we hold on a cellular level, is if you hear a song and it takes you back 20 years, if you smell a certain food, it takes you back to either comfort or something that perhaps unfortunately made you sick, a person who reminds you of somebody else. Those come from the amygdala in our brain. That's where the storage is of the connection and the association to something else. So if we're storing the negative in the brain, and it's not addressed and not put in a positive light or healed, it will affect the body. If that makes sense, I hope so. So this last paragraph in chapter 1 says we all want healthy cells free of toxic, physically destructive buildup. Our emotional state can dictate our physical state. Like I was saying, what we hold on to manifests its way into our physical body. We have enough toxins floating around us and in us that we don't need to add fuel to the internal fire. We can release those situations. We can remove this from building up in our body and healing ourselves and being free again. So do yourself a favor and embrace the emotions. Truly acknowledge them, work through them, and then dump them and move forward. Say bye, ciao, see ya, as I say in my book. Release and attain freedom for yourself. So that's the first chapter. Again, they're very small chapters. At the end of that chapter, I've got an area to do a little bit of writing, and there's extra space to do more. And I say, what feels like darkness to you at this time? So whatever you're feeling, and the examples I've given, and there's plenty more, divorce, separation, unemployment, addiction. A lot of them are very heavy and need a lot more assistance than just going through my book. But I believe that this can be the start of a facilitation process. Depression, loneliness, all those things can be dark, can leave you feeling like you're in the dark. So if you have the book, and if you don't and you have a piece of paper and you'd like to follow along and journey and actually be coactive, as I say in the title of my book, it's a coactive book. We answer the question, what feels like darkness to you at this time? So take a moment and write down what feels dark. It can be anything. Anything dark is something that doesn't feel light and peaceful and joyful in your life. So write down what you feel is dark. And I would go a step further to say, how do you feel in that darkness? Write down some of the thoughts that come to your mind throughout the day with this darkness at this time. And that will be the start of the acknowledgement. So once we have acknowledged, and you'd be surprised how many people go through life where there's no acknowledgement that they're feeling something, that something's bothering them. They're just going through the motions. And when you become more in tune with that for yourself, it's hard to shut off a switch when you're talking with someone or observing someone and there's pain and darkness and they're not addressing it. I'm sure all of you know someone you've seen, it's like they're in denial. They're not even able to address what's going on. And some people think that's fine, they're not dwelling. Well, no, they're not releasing and addressing and healing. They're just layer after layer after layer of pain. And it takes a toll eventually. You can't escape it. You can't escape it. So I'll leave you with that. Make your notes. The next time we'll start the next chapter. And it'll be step by step. And the final thing I want to leave you with, I write quotes throughout the book, or I put quotes in the book pertaining to the content that we're talking about. And this quote is, I am in the world feeling my way to light amid the encircling gloom. And that one's by Gandhi. And what a dark time he had. Many years to reflect at the darkness of him being in prison. And so I say that to you. Feel your way to the light. Stay positive around whatever notes you write about what is dark and how you're feeling about it. Within that gloom, keep the light at the end of the tunnel going. And as I always say, and it's going to be said a lot throughout my videos, this too shall pass. It is the most powerful affirmation that I did. And I can equate it to every chapter that I'm going to go through. This too shall pass while you're in the dark place and the emotions of it. So do some reflecting on that until I do my next video. Thank you for joining in. I hope you are inspired. I hope you feel empowered. I hope you feel supported. That's the reason for writing my book and wanting to do this book virtually, so people will feel supported. When we know we're not alone, it makes all the difference. And I'm happy to share it with you. It's a dream for me to have my book in print. And I hope that it branches out tenfold to reach every person that needs it. We're hitting a time of great healing in this land. And our healing needs to come first and branch out to others. So thank you for joining me today. Happy Good Friday. Blessings. Subscribe, like, comment, say anything. Let me know anything you want to talk about for the future, anything related to today's video. Talk to you soon. Blessings. Take care. Bye-bye.